we were talking about the setting viewport. Then how you can set the viewport? We should know this. Okay. So if you have ever used modern mobile browser, nowadays all browsers which use in mobile phone, that is all are modern only because it's updated everything. And you have maybe been surprised at how the web page was scaled to fit into the smaller size, right, on your device, right? It has to be fit, and this is going to be fit due to the viewport only. That's why the way this works to the mobile browser device, it's that means it's rendered mobile browser render the pages and on the canvas, that means your screen size, that is actually called as your viewport. On iPhone, the viewport width is 980 pixel, and then the viewport will be like you will be used scale to fit the current width, right? Like this is the things you are going to consider to set the viewport. You can see here same thing what just now I explained, same thing. You can see that this, you can see here any website where we have the book some information, the moment you is mobile screen size 320, that it is going to be fit into the view size only this much width. Okay, so this is actually viewport for this device. This is the viewport where you are seeing the entire content. This is the viewport actually. Okay, when you're seeing here, this will be called as viewport. Like this is a example, and same accordingly you are going to implement over there. Then might be you would have heard Safari browser, right? So the mobile Safari browser introduced the viewport meta tag, the way developer to control the size of that initial viewport, right? So when you use in Safari browser, and different browser having the different thing, you have to implement even the viewport for the browser also. That is also exists there, because nowadays the browser is getting updated and there is so many features are getting added. Then accordingly you have to do that. Next, the web page will tell you the browser viewport. Okay, the size to use viewport in the meta element, which is the example here. How you have to use the viewport, we have shown you in the previous class. That is the, you have to use meta name is equal to viewport, content is equal to, you are going to width device width. If you define this one, it is going to be set the viewport, and by this you will be like telling the browser there is no need of any scaling. Okay, and the viewport will make into the many pixels width device to the screen size. If device screen size is 3 pixel wide, then the viewport will be 3 pixel. If it is 480, then it will go to the 480, and accordingly the viewport will be keep changing. The same example you can see here. The another example, the first example we have used the viewport. Now you can see that the moment you use, still you can see that some content is going this side, it's not visible. So this is, you have to resolve using the using CSS, and mobile browser accordingly rendered all the pages as you define here, and it will display its on physical screen with no scaling. I have not used any scaling over here. Accordingly you are going to do that. And however, since you are setting the viewport in the above figure to shrink, okay, you are going to shrink, but still it will be crop the content. Setting the viewport is only the step for creating responsive design. It's not that, okay, I have defined here, I have displayed that, no, and automatically the all the whatever you are using, that will be taken care. No, it will not happen like this. You have to other things also you have to do that after setting the viewport. and there needs a way to transform the look of site for a smaller screen size on the mobile devices, which can be done using media queries. You have to implement. And what is the media queries now? And what we have talked now, it's not that only if you set as per the like viewport, just we have set the viewport, our duty is done, the website will be responsive. No, it will not happen. As I mentioned, you have to use here the media queries, you have to define the hybrid layout. This all you have to consider when you are going to develop. Then what is the media queries? The media queries here you'll be having like it's a key component in the CSS. Okay, and whenever you are going to use a responsive device, you have to define the media query into the CSS. A media query is the way to apply the style rule based on the medium that you are going to display your file. As I mentioned, right? That means you are going to display on which screen size that you have to define. And how it will be there? The example is here. You can see here. You have to use this into the CSS @media that you have to define only a screen and maximum width and whatever you want it defined here. Like this way you have to define. What is the meaning of that? The first, when you define @media, that means it is defining that it is a media query. When you define only, that means only use the style in both condition are true. Okay, and the next it will say that okay, device has to set as and seen as a screen. Okay, device has to be a screen. And what you are pulling here information, that is the width of the particular device. So that's what condition we are giving. And what is the and? The maximum width of the device should be the 480 pixel. So use this style if width of particular device is not wider than 480 pixel. So if you have mobile device with the 480 pixel, then this media query will work. And whatever the CSS rule you want to define in this, you are going to define, and accordingly it is going to match with this condition, whatever you define. This is how actually we have to define the media queries into the CSS. And these queries are Boolean expression, and that can be added into your CSS file to link element to conditionally use the different external CSS file based. Why we have used here different external? That means you are going to define several media queries, and definitely that will be defined into the external CSS that you have to define and you have to use. We have some list of features that will be used into the media query. That is width. When you are going to define the width of viewport. When you define height of the viewport, device width you can define, device height you can define, orientation you can use, and color you can use. So this browser features you can examine in the media query easily. And this responsive site typically will provide the CSS rule for especially for your smart devices, and it display first, then tablet, then desktop monitor, and this approach is called as progressive enhancement, and in which a design adapted progressively more advanced devices. Nowadays you can see that all the devices are the advanced devices, and it will be adopted because its keep accordingly it is going to be used. You can see here again how the media query will be there, and you can see here different devices, your desktop monitor, your tablet devices, your smartphone devices, and there are several other devices. Now the smart TVs are also there. Now you can see here the rule for phone, how you will be defined. So what I am defining, only media screen maximum width should be the 480 pixel. That means it will display only those screen size. What you have to define, suppose I have defined any slider image, then what you are going to do, the slider image maximum width 100%. That means the moment your screen size get reduced, the slider image will get also adjusted and the width will be 100%. So if their screen size is only this much, then it will also with 100% that. Then flash add, if you are giving, define that flash add display. Suppose you have tablet, then tablet, how you are going to define? In tablet you have to specify again. So obviously the on tablet what happened, either you are going to see horizontally or you are going to see vertically, right? Two different way you will be always using this tablet. Also phone also you are using. Then you have to do what you have to define, you have to define the minimum width, because already we have defined 480. Then you have to define from 481. So from 481 pixel, and what is that condition? Another pixel is up to 768. The moment if you define this, whatever the rule you want, you define here, the CSS rule. Next, suppose the screen size get increased more than this tablet, right? That is the now your 15.6 inch monitor or 13 inch or 14 inch or 17 inch, whatever so on. For that you have to use here the width. It will start, because we have stopped here 768, you are going to use 769 pixel, and this all you have to implement into externally CSS. Then when you use this into the your HTML, then you have to call as a external CSS. That means link style sheet. If you are using different CSS, then you can define, even you can use entire in one CSS. You can also do that. You can see that I am using a link tag for the media screen 480, then 481 and 769. And even you will be used, there is the if LT means less than I9. If I9 is less than, that means Internet Explorer less than 9 version, then generally it will take by default style sheet rule from this. That is the way of your responsive design for the with help of media query.